lot of people say that YouTube's not powerful. I think it's more powerful than any streaming platform.
Do you see brands working with AI avatars of creators?
It's a slippery slope because a creator's number one asset is the fact that they are authentic and human.
Yeah, their presence.
I think we're at the beginning stages of a major industrial shift from media to social.
What is the most pressing demand amongst your customers, and what solutions do they ask for the most right now?
The burning desire for a lot of them is to transform how they're doing social today. And I think that now, finally, after 11 years, these big brands are going, well, we need to go from media-led to social media-led.
Right.
You know, me and Matt used to run in the hallway and chest bump each other if we got a $10,000 deal for an influencer. Now we're scaling social programs to $50 to $100 million a year.
Hello, everyone. This is Shubham Tiwari. I'm the Associate Director of Content Marketing and Socials at Phyllo, a universal solution for social media background checks and influencer vetting. I welcome you all to Season 3 of Impulse, Google's number one rated podcast on influencer marketing. My guest today is Joe Gagliese, connecting with us right from Toronto, Canada. He's the co-founder and co-CEO of Viral Nation. Joe has been at the forefront of redefining social media marketing, transforming Viral Nation from a startup into a global leader in digital and social innovation. The client roster featuring brands like Coca-Cola, Uber, Meta, and a track record of scaling businesses by 300 to 400% year on year. Joe has unparalleled insights into what it takes to build a powerhouse in the creator economy. Joe, welcome to Impulse.
Thank you for having me. Appreciate it.
So right before, when we started recording, we were talking about how family is important, friends are important. And you started Viral Nation with your high school friend, right? Matt Michelli. So please tell us about that story. How did you, come to realize that you can make something big out of Viral Nation? And first of all, talk about this friendship that has, been continuing for so long.
Yeah, listen, I grew up, I'm from an immigrant family in Canada, and they worked really hard to kind of give me an opportunity to go to college and work and et cetera. And Matt, my partner, is very similar. His mom and my father came to Canada when they were very young. So we started kind of on similar paths in the sense that, we had to work hard and there was particular expectations around education and family was really at the center, which is where I think Matt and I really formed our bond is we have very similar outlooks to life and we have very similar drives, not necessarily monetarily, but to kind of prove that, you can kind of succeed and do things differently if you really work hard at it. And that's been really at the center of what we do for a very long time. In 2013, I got this crazy idea that Vine stars on Vine at the time really had potential to work with companies. And that was at a time when that wasn't a thing. And I remember being in the car and I looked over to Matt and I said, Matt, I think we should represent social media people. And he's like, what are you talking about? And I just said to him, I said, look, these folks are getting more views than mainstream TV and no one really knows they're there. And I just really, truly believe that what these creators are doing is in a lot of ways supernatural. It's going to change everything. And I got him to buy in. And then we signed one influencer and we worked every night. We used to send emails to different brands trying to figure out someone who would pay him to do what he does. And within a couple weeks, we found an organization that was willing to sponsor one of his posts. And it was the first ever sponsor he had ever gotten. And that video that he posted attracted 8 or 9 of his friends. And they were like, how did you do that? And he's like, you know what? I signed with these Viral Nation guys and they're really working hard to try to do this for me. And sure enough, all 6 of his friends signed with us kind of the next week. And we were really at the onset because, that was at a time when creators were making no money at all.
Yeah.
Viral Nations were making no money at all. And, we were looking at the creator economy almost as one of them. We were just their partners. You're the creative ones, we're the business ones. And we're just going to work our butts off to figure out how we can materialize this for you. To the point where, creators in 2014 would stay like in our hotel rooms and sleep on the floor, or we would rent really crappy Airbnbs in Los Angeles and we'd have like 8, 9 creators in there at any given point. So, it was truly a labor of love from the onset. And we fell in love with creators at a level I can't even describe to you. Cause like to this day, I wake up every day and I love creators. And I don't say that because I'm in the business, Shubham. I say it because creators are the most special entertainment entity that's ever come in a lifetime. So we started off representing talent, and then brands started to ask us to just do it for them. So we decided to open Viral Nation Marketing in 2015, end of 2015, 2016, to basically do both. Can we represent the talent, and can we work with brands to figure out influencer marketing? Quickly scaled both of those businesses, and the timing was just incredible. We were 3 years early to the boom, and all of a sudden we were kind of the guys in the space, even though we were small, because now everybody wanted to get in. So we decided to just really buckle down and try to drive this thing to another level. And that's kind of what happened is both of those businesses grew really dramatically over the first 3 years. Then we got into technology because our customers were saying, this is great, but what does it do? Show me something that's more tangible than this got 20 views, right? So that's what got us into technology. We worked closely with the platforms to develop API connections and be able to distill data from social in a very different way. And that, again, was just, again, from a timing perspective, incredible. And then those three units together really just kind of exploded our growth for a number of years after that. And then we hit this critical inflection point where we were really heavily influencer business. We did creator marketing. But what we saw as a management team was that social media was becoming more important across the board. It wasn't just creators. It was ambassador and affiliate programs. It was community management, content development for social. There was this white space where I kind of felt like big organizations are going to go from social's this side thing over here to the most important thing. And when that happens, it can't be one company for everything. That's not how big companies work. So I tasked my team and I said, guys, we need to figure out how we can become an enterprise grade marketing organization across all of social. And they thought I was a little bit crazy at the time, but we started. So we got into community, we got into content, we got into paid social, we got into strategy, we got into business intelligence and advanced data sciences in social. And we built this really incredible mechanism that allows brands to basically centralize all their social into Viral Nation and run it all together, which unlocks massive value. So that was kind of the third big step for us. And when we did that is when we went through our most explosive growth period. So through COVID, Viral Nation basically 4x'd in size during that period. Wow. And then we came out the other end. And today, Viral Nation Technologies have a huge data platform called Creator Operating System. We're not like creator companies in the sense that we don't sell SaaS to do it yourself. That's not our business. That's a different type of creator marketing. We enable enterprises to have the tools they need in order to scale. So it's very different. We're not selling solutions. We're selling custom solutions based on those specific big organizations. And then we have Viral Nation Secure, which is our security technology that enables us to do really, really deep video insights and historical insights across the creator landscape and celebrity landscape. Then Viral Nation Marketing now is our biggest business. We represent just over 80 global brands, and we run across their entire social. So meaning all those things I listed we're responsible for. And then Viral Nation Talent has now become the largest talent agency globally in the space. They're rounding out with the exclusive and non-exclusive to around 12 to 1,400 creators across 20 different verticals. And we run all of the back end of their businesses. So we help them monetize their entire business. And when you bring all these together is where the real value proposition of Viral Nation comes from, because we've developed, think of it like kind of a social media warship, right? From security of data to inventory, being the creators, the new media, and then the ability to deliver at scale in between. And that was really my dream in 2018, 2019 to create. And really kind of happy to say that has happened. And the business now operates as a full holistic enterprise social solution at scales that, frankly, me and Matt used to run in the hallway and chest bump each other if we got a $10,000 deal for an influencer, right? And now we're scaling social programs to $50 to $100 million a year, right? So it's become something a lot more mature. And I truly believe that social is the driving force of 80% of communication and over 90% of purchase decisions. So you have this huge iceberg of traditional media sitting over here that they're going, what's going on? And we built something to be able to catch that at that same frequency. And that's Viral Nation in a nutshell in our story, man.
It's wonderful. I can clearly, imagine the movie Good Will Hunting when I think of you and Matt somehow sitting in the car thinking about the future.
Yeah.
So
but you know
clearly,
what? Normal guys just working hard. That's our mantra.
Wow.
We're not the extravagant type. We're not the banking type. We are just the hardworking type. And I find that, if you're kind to people and you work really, really, really hard, that's where good outcomes come from. And that's, Viral Nation's kind of DNA.
So Viral Nation, it sounds, very big. How big is it right now? How many people are working there? And let's say an influencer listening to this podcast, how can they work with you?
To an influencer?
Yeah.
Viral Nation, I think we're just over 400 people in North America specifically. We have some staff in Asia Pacific, as well as Europe, a little bit in Latin America. But our base is North America, mostly New York, and a little bit in Toronto, where I am here. If you're an influencer listening, there's a few things, right? Viral Nation Talent Group has developed an ecosystem where you can take a creator who's in that moment of time, that special moment of time where they've hit this threshold where maybe they're thinking about, Shaban, like, I want to do this as a career, or I've hit this peak where I really want to start to figure that out. That's what Viral Nation Talent is built for. So the reason Viral Nation Talent is different than any other talent agency in the world is because we don't operate like a management company. We operate like a media sales company, meaning we don't hope that a creator gets a deal. We go find it for them. We don't hope that a brand finds Viral Nation talent. We spend and invest a lot of money in getting in front of brands and talking about the talent we have. So we created this ecosystem where a creator can come into Viral Nation Talent and basically achieve all of their dreams in terms of monetization. Outside of Viral Nation doesn't specialize in traditional stuff. So we don't get people acting opportunities. We don't, set people up for TV shows, like to go and audition. It's not, our specialty is the social side. But if a creator comes in, right, brand endorsements, sponsorships, platform revenue, launching their own ventures, streaming shows and different things they want to create more long form, globalization of content. So one of the things for me being in the space for so long is that there's something uncanny like 2,600 agencies that represent influencers. That's too many, right? That's a problem, right? Yep. The problem is that the barrier to entry is very low. So if you're a creator, you have this moment in time where you really got to pounce to build that possibility of what you've created. And unfortunately, creators get scooped up by these different companies that do different things. And now all of a sudden you're a creator in your peak moment and you got one company doing your podcast, one company doing brand deals, another one's trying to do it, et cetera. And they lose out. And what I wanted to create was an opportunity where a creator could walk in the front door and say, I need help, and us be able to condition the whole thing around them. So if it's a creator listening, that when you reach that moment in your career where it's starting to make sense to go to that next level, Viral Nation Talent is truly, if I was a creator, where I would be to maximize the opportunity for myself. Now, listen, we're not genies, right? So there are things that need to be true with the creator, the vertical, how often they're posting, the type of engagement they have. There's still things on you. We don't take anybody and just make them, monetize across everything. But if you're in a great situation and you're looking for that help, Viral Nation's the best company in the world at doing that. And then on the marketing side of our business, we're one of the largest global spenders in influencer marketing. So, being on the radar of Viral Nation marketing's teams and stuff could enable opportunities to come their way. But that's what the advice I would kind of say to the creator.
Right. And speaking from brand's point of view, how do you find the right, influencers for them? Or let's say, how do you make sure that their brand will be safe with them? How do you do social media background checks? What is the process currently? How many hours you are spending there? How do you do that?
Yeah, so Viral Nation has Viral Nation Secure, which allows us to basically do that in an autonomous fashion. So we work with the brands to essentially develop their brand safety analysis and narrative to figure out what exactly those touch points are. And then we work backwards into the technology that we use for reporting to give us the derivatives of any types of flags or instances where those problems arise. Now, you have to remember, for Viral Nation, we work almost exclusively with mid to large scale creators, right? So when we're working on a behalf of a brand, these brands are folks like Walmart, Rocket Mortgage, Meta, so the elk of the creators we deal with on their behalf, generally, because it's good for them as well, are really cognizant about their image and stuff like that. But Viral Nation in 11 years has not had an incident in that area. And it's evolved, right? There was manual, then it was a little bit of technology, then it was lawyers, then it was, technologies that we found, then it was like build our own. Then the way I see brand safety, Shubham, is it's a roadblock to the growth of the space, because you have marketers who are sitting there and saying, rightly so, they're saying, I can spend $100 million in this media channel and I can wake up every morning and I know everything's okay. If I spend $100 million in influencer and social, I don't want to feel like there's a massive risk to my business.
Correct.
And that's the intensity that why we're trying to solve too, is by eliminating that fear, we're creating more opportunity for creators, believe it or not. It's not to, be the big seeing eye on a creator. It's actually to give brands confidence to continue to invest in them. Right.
Correct.
And unfortunately, like everything in the world, you have bad actors, right? And you have people who don't take their profession seriously. And you have folks who put brands in very serious and precarious situations. And you're never going to change that. So unfortunately, you need to provide an option or be accountable for making sure that the brand doesn't have that pain or fear.
Right. And let me bring this, the buzzword AI into this. Are you using AI powered tools to, streamline all of this so that you can have a, good night's sleep, knowing that, nothing's going to go unreported, unchecked at the end of the day? So how are you, integrating AI right now?
Yeah, so really cool question. So tech is hard, as I'm sure you know.
Yep.
One of the things that Viral Nation in 2021 began working on proprietary AI technologies. Now, at that time, we didn't have the generative and language models, right? We had the old school models and the big throughput and the expensive, we would move big media, and it was just really hard to sustain because it was just so much data ingestion. So in February or March of last year, Viral Nation announced a partnership with Google, and Google's invested in Viral Nation's AI capability. So what we did was we took our original technology infrastructure and we basically changed it to basically accept Gemini and accept Google's AI side of their business to round out some of the areas either in cost and expenditure where we weren't economical. We were providing the solution, but not economically. So that helped us to be able to get there. And then the big thing, Shubham, is it gave us contextualization. And contextualization when running that level or amount of media is important, because brand safety is only attributable when you understand what's happening around it. And if you don't capture what's happening around it, it becomes very difficult to distill what is good and what is bad. And Google really helped us to be able to take out a lot of that human intervention, where we were having folks double check to make sure that a flag that the AI pulled or something the AI noticed in our original technology was right or wrong. Or was it contextually relevant or not, right? Because someone could say the F word as part of a funny joke they're quoting from an artist versus someone telling someone to F off, right? Yeah. And AI and natural language models are giving us the ability to get a little bit more contextually closer to removing that human element, but it's also given us the runway to be able to make the solution economical.
Right. Right. I mean, our brand safety product, it's giving such funny, flags right now. Somebody is, running, let's say a runner, a creator who, does vlogs. It's flagging as, road safety hazard when he's, running across across the road. So it's really, really, we are at a really exciting point, I guess. We are learning from tech, and AI is also learning from us. What is the most pressing demand amongst your customers, and what solutions do they ask for the most right now?
I think for our customers, like the burning desire for a lot of them is to transform how they're doing social today. So, a lot of them are now going, my social is not adequate to where it needs to be in terms of its importance in my business model right now. And they're looking at it and going, like we need to centralize it. We need to put better leadership here. We need better partners here. So they're trying to, because you have to remember at some point, social became important in stages, right? It wasn't just like, whoom, right? First, it was like, we need to have a social platform. So someone would hire a young person who could make content. right? Then it was like,
Yeah.
oh, we need community management. They would hire 2 people out of college to run community management, right? The big agencies were all like, I'll do YouTube. And the other ones like, we'll take these ones. And it became for a lot. And I only, I'm very fortunate. I only for the last 5-6 years see inside of the biggest brands. And it's very different than mid-size and small business, right?
Right.
So I'm talking more about these bigger organizations. And when they make moves, it's like moving a ship, right? So now what's happening, I feel, is they're going and getting pressure that, hey, there's these social media led companies around North America and around the world who are killing it. Why aren't we seeing the same result? And I think that now, finally, after 11 years, these big brands are going, well, we need to go from media led to social media led. And in order to do that, we need to break this and we need to rebuild it so that it can handle it. And we need to report on it at the same level of accuracy and rigor that we do with traditional media. And that's where I think most of our big clients and future clients and folks in our pipeline and stuff, that's their thinking is it's this idea of maturing social inside of the organization is where a lot of their heads are at. And as a part of that, the senior people are now learning more about it, right? So now they're getting smarter about it. They're asking better questions. They're thinking about potential synergies or optimizations. They're thinking about things like brand safety. They're thinking about things like scale. They're thinking about things like approval workflows. And there's all these things now that the senior folks are trying to wrap their minds around and figure out how they want to place it. So I would say that right now, I think we're at the beginning stages of a major industrial shift from media to social. And that's playing out in so many different ways amongst every customer. But I think they're all going through something similar.
Right. I'm glad you spoke about big brands because that's a perfect segue into my next question. What's one key lesson you've learned from working with these top tier brands like Uber, Meta, Coke, that most marketers overlook? What's one thing that Viral Nation is doing right, and what that other agency may be doing wrong?
The more I've spent time in this space, the more I've learned that our customers are human, kind of like we are. And I think Viral Nation's biggest secret sauce of how we do what we do and we remain with our clients is honesty at all costs right away is a policy inside of Viral Nation. Something goes wrong, they need to know, because the best thing you can do is have an ally, and the best thing you can do is not hide things from anyone. So we practice radical candor. So when a client knows that no matter what, if it's bad, if it's good, if it's a decision, if it's a change, as long as we're being transparent and radically candid with them all the time, you're always going to have a partner, right? Because it's easier that way to be transparent and be on the same page. And then the second part of our specialty is we care more about delivery than we care about telling our own story. So Viral Nation's team, if you were to come into Viral Nation for a day and spend time with all these big teams, their number one focus is making sure whatever we told the customer we're going to do, we're going to finish. And we're going to do it exactly the way we said we're going to do it. And I think that sometimes in our industry, creativity and posturing takes a front seat to delivery. And Viral Nation, I don't know if it's because we're old school. I don't know if it's because, I was raised an immigrant kid. Our philosophy is work your ass off and be honest. And when you do that, in order for someone to not want to be your partner, you either need to find someone who's much better, right? And that's okay. It's competition, right? Or you need to be a bad client, right? And that's really what we see because, like, for instance, we have a 96 or 97% retention rate of our top 25 clients. That's unheard of in our industry.
Yeah.
And if you ask them why, they would probably go, because they deliver every single time. And they just,
or maybe they like you, Joe. Maybe they like you.
But yeah, man, I know it sounds a little cliche and a little cutesy, but that radical transparency and just doing what you say you're going to do is our secret sauce, man.
Yeah, right. Great. Can you also tell us about the customer segments around industries like FMCG versus healthcare, for example, versus tech versus others? Which ones care most about, let's say, compliances, or give us an overview of the clients that you have?
Yeah. Listen, we're pretty bulky in the area of like kind of CPG retail, right? So those are the Elf Cosmetics and the Walmarts and that stuff. they toe a very strict line on compliance because they're as big as they are. They're forward facing. They're very consumer driven, et cetera. I would say they're our biggest cohort. I think the most strict is going to be any brands that are in family or kids. So we have a lot of those types of brands like the Disneys of the world and et cetera. They toe a very different line from a compliance perspective because they have to. And then we kind of go out into, streaming and entertainment, consumer technology, B2B, for instance, like we do AUS and Intuit QuickBooks and stuff of that nature. What's so cool though is what we do is applicable to any industry. It's determining where we can have the best effect. So what we do is we watch industries. Like for instance, in 2025, we're going to start moving into pharma and into healthcare because healthcare is a little bit old school. So now they're coming to social way later than consumer technology or cosmetics, right? So we look for when does a vertical or an industry start to make that, oh my God, I need to shift to social? And then we start working into those industries, right? And then the industries that are really socially native are the ones we have the most of because they understand it and they're already there. So we use social maturity as an indicator of where we play.
Right. And speaking of, social maturity index, let's call it that. You have been recognized as a thought leader in this space. So are you doing some, educational content around it? Because you have been featured in Forbes, the Wall Street Journal, Wired as well. So how do you assess these, shifts in these particular niches, and what kind of content, let's say, or what kind of presence do you, put forward to assess and to educate and to, essentially get them to work with Viral Nation?
Yeah, you know what? I actually rely more on my team than I do myself. Okay. I am a introverted extrovert in the sense that I find my joy in the work and the hard stuff. I like getting in with my teams. I love working through the problems with our customers and stuff like that. It's not natural to me to be the one who's, flying all around the world and doing speeches and all that stuff. So, for me in 2022, 2023, I kind of enabled my corporate marketing team to say, hey, it's not just me. It's all the executives at Viral Nation are thought leaders. So we've been all kind of sharing opportunities of being in the right places in the right times. And for instance, our head of business intelligence and data science did a really cool speech at South by Southwest this week. Our CRO and our head of sales did 2 really cool keynotes 2 weeks ago. Our heads of our studio division and our community management division and our strategy division, they make thought leadership online once every 3 days. So we work as kind of a union to expand our brain power outward and create thought leadership that is built to enable. And because of that, we get a lot of reciprocation and brands that come our way. Viral Nation doesn't do a lot of marketing or sales. We've grown mostly from our existing clients, referrals from them, or things like thought leadership where folks will hear someone from our team or see something from our team and inquire. But, again, we're all about work. So we're talking about work, we're living it. And that's what I like to have my team kind of put their foot forward in when they do thought leadership, is that, creating value for folks. And if you look on LinkedIn and you find our executive leaders, they're all working and they're all putting out things that they think can either help our clients or help other people. And that's been huge for us. But I'm also a bit of a, as a young guy, I'm a bit of a grandfather in this space, right? So I've seen, I was an agent for 5-6 years of talent. So I know talent like they're my children. I've been part of influencer marketing campaigns since the first ones took place. I've seen every type of move, shake up problem. So for me, I just like to figure out ways that I can help advance the creator economy so that folks invest more into it, because I truly think it is the number one destination in the world for consumers. I really do.
Right. Wonderful. So my next question was how Viral Nation has been scaling at an insane pace without external investment. I can see clearly the leadership matters a lot, and the way you're, completely aligned. You call yourself introverted extrovert, and you love to do hard things. You're reading books like Radical Candor. You're a family man. Your friends are with you from your childhood. So I can clearly see the basics. An organization is as good as the leader. But still, if you want to give us more insight into the philosophy of Viral Nation, the growth trajectory, how you're scaling it up so fast.
Yeah, well, listen, I'll start with mistakes because it's all not hunky-dory all the time. About a year and a half ago, we started to when Viral Nation broke kind of over the 100 million a year threshold and became more of that bigger enterprise, I thought we needed to do certain things and put certain people in certain places to go to that next level. And you know what, during that process, I made a lot of mistakes. I hurt the culture of the business in a lot of ways because, you know, people came in and started creating process on things they didn't understand. And, you know, you had leaders acting one way and others acting differently, and things got more process driven than they were entrepreneurial. And by the time I closed my eyes and opened them, Viral Nation wasn't the same business anymore. And I spent the better part of half of last year into this year correcting all of those things. And it was hell for me for two reasons. One is it was a lot of work and a lot of winding things back and a lot of self-reflection of like, you know, maybe the way we are doing things is special and we need to empower our people, just keep doing it. We got to give them support versus turning into something maybe we're not. And a lot of those decisions had repercussions on great people in the business who felt, you know, unheard, or, you know, it isolated areas of the business that needed help that you couldn't see. And, you know, so we went through that kind of typical maturity when a company becomes big, but we didn't do it right. And we learned a lot from it. So as we've turned the corner and corrected all of that, and coming into this year, we were like back to kind of who we were and what we were about. All the things we just discussed is the core of it. And, you know, the leaders in this business have a voice like I do, and there's no in between. And we only install processes if it helps somebody, not because it needs to be there. Yeah. So we've kind of taken the good stuff that we learned from maturing and becoming an enterprise and kept that. And everything else we removed and went back to our old way of doing it. And that was, you know, for me, I have chills even talking to you about it. It was the biggest learning in the world for me, because at the end of it, I felt responsible, even though I didn't want it to happen. And that was an ugly feeling, because you have people assuming or thinking about your business in a certain way, but you had no intention of it being that, but you caused it. So for me, it just was in my gut that I needed to fix that. And I think that now, looking back at it and seeing where the teams are operating today, that is how good businesses win. Because during that period of time when we changed the game and we changed the way we did things and we put people in other places that weren't before, is when things started to just cruise. Not cruise, but they weren't bursting like they generally burst. As soon as all that was removed, we had the best Q1 in our company's history, right? So it's incredible how, as an entrepreneur, even after 11 years of starting from scratch, what a hard and valuable lesson. And the reality that taking care of your people and fixing wrongs, even if you didn't intend them, and working really hard to make them better, is not only good for the people, but it really helps the business. And that is like probably my biggest lesson as it relates to the culture. And it's funny because nothing changed. I was the same guy, and the teams were the same. It just didn't have the same impact because people didn't feel connected to it. And when you get people connected to the thesis of hard work, radical candor, kicking butt, you could be an account coordinator and you have a voice as strong as mine, and you reinstall those things, the beauty that comes is
Extreme Ownership is another by Jocko Willink. And I think you had a similar experience which Steve Jobs had with hiring managers, right? There's a very famous clip by Steve Jobs where he says that you should never hire a manager. You should hire someone who, you know, who's responsible for their own work, not just managing someone else or a team.
So, well, it was funny because during that period, people would say to me, you can't promote that girl or that guy. They don't have the experience. Back in the day, I would always put that person up, right?
Correct.
And it's funny because exactly what you're saying, if I pulled the top 5 people from Viral Nation right now who are creating the biggest difference in our business, you wouldn't have chosen any of them for those roles. None of them. One of them was a kickboxing instructor when she started at Viral Nation seven years ago. Now she runs one of our biggest accounts. The woman who runs strategy and community management for the entirety of Viral Nation started as a community manager, right? Those are the people who I want to be making decisions in my business. And those are the people who people aspire to be. And you can't hire people with that in them. And that's been the big difference for us is promoting from within and giving people the strength and giving people the opportunity to do things that others, frankly, don't even want to do, right? And empowering them to do it. And as soon as you do that, oh my God, it was unbelievable.
Yeah. So coming back to my original question, the scale at which or the pace at which, you know, Viral Nation is growing is down to the culture. is down to hiring the people or nurturing the people who are passionate about the business, taking full responsibility, extreme ownership. And the growth is their mantra. And as you said, everyone has the same weight of in their voice. They can voice their opinion. Your CRO, your CTO, everyone is going out there giving speeches. They're not. So essentially, you're still working like a startup, right? The startup spirit you're keeping up alive.
Yes, but we have the financial and operational rigor of an enterprise.
Perfect combination.
Right. And that's what we got as a part of it, right? Like Viral Nation is now at a point, like even our security on our technology, right? You know in your business how hard that part is. It becomes really difficult. As a part of that transition that screwed a lot of things up, we really cauterized that. And Viral Nation now operates like Coke in the area of security, right?
Right.
Our financial rigor led by our CFO is at public market level. Our operations teams and our project management teams have full control of the business. So there was incredible byproducts of maturing the business that needed to be done. They just didn't need to sweep as widely. And when you have those type of controls and the right type of empowerment, then you're in a good spot. But unfortunately, it took me a year and about 17 punches to the forehead to get there.
Great. So taking a overview of the industry, we are also creating social media screening APIs for brand safety for large brands. Where do you see this future of compliance and risk management in influencer marketing? Let's say for your customers, a customer base like yours.
Yeah, I see it just being a part of that industry. Also too, I love looking at history as a way to predict the future. It's important to me. And when you look at how fast digital ads and that business grew through the late 90s and the early 2000s, and then it became ad fraud central for 5-6 years. Right. And then they had to put all these security controls. Right. And those security controls are just part of it today. You won't do it without it. Right. So I think that we're going to a place where if you're a professional creator, an athlete, or a celebrity, your social cleanliness is a part of your asset. So from a creator's perspective, if you're a professional, that should be important to you. And I think for brands, it's going to be a prerequisite. And I just think that, right now, you and I seem extremely innovative. But I think a year from now or 3 years from now or 5 years will just be an expectation. And it will be a mechanism that allows further investment into what we do. And I think it's critical. And the reason I think it's critical is because for the same reasons, social media, in my opinion, is the most powerful thing that the world's ever seen. You make a mistake on it, and it's the most powerful lesson you will ever learn as a big organization. Because you might want to pay an influencer $20,000 and drop 30% of market share, right? There's no media in the world strong enough to create that outcome. And I kind of believe that if something's strong enough to cause that big of a negative outcome, imagine how powerful it can be the other way, which is what we do. So if we can cauterize the bad and unlock the good, I think it's part and parcel to the industry standard.
Wonderful. Speaking of the entire industry, how does AI and automation is changing the way brands engage with influencers? What's one emerging trend would you believe will reshape the industry in the next 5 years? Or is that a very big time? Let's say 2 years.
Sure. I'll answer the second one first. I think that the connectivity of commerce and social will be perfected at some point. It has to be.
Right.
I'm a firm believer. I know the data doesn't show it, but I believe that 90% of purchase decisions have social media on the end of them, meaning you're not going to buy a car without watching a YouTube review. You're not going to buy the lipstick without sending it to your girlfriend. You're not, me and my wife built a home, and I bet you 90% of the designs we used came from Instagram or Pinterest. So I think we're going to move. The biggest trend is we're going to move very close to being able to unlock that. And then if TikTok, Instagram, YouTube, X, etc., figure out how to develop true commerce rails, and not the cowboy stuff we're doing today, but the real transactional opportunity and delivery within that ecosystem, I think that is going to be the biggest outcome in our space that could ever be felt or seen. Because I think that creators are just modern media again. So like for me, creators are just like another channel that they own. the audience for.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
they're just like CNN, but their own version. So I think that interconnectivity is going to be a massive shift. Now it's
Yeah.
hard because you have the two things that don't hit each other perfectly. Is you have the Amazons of the world with those diverse ecosystems that enable delivery and enable that expectation of quick delivery, and they've built an ecosystem around that would cost Google $10 billion to replicate, right? So that's setting the consumer expectation, and then they have to align with all these third-party platforms that are doing commerce, which is hard. So there's a lot of barriers for them to be able to really crack that, but if they do, I think that'll be the epicenter for commerce for the future. What was the first question?
The way brands are interacting or engaging with influencers, how is it going to change with
AI,
concept of AI?
Yeah. So what's interesting is influencers are human, which makes them difficult, right? Influencers are not ads. Influencers wake up late. They don't respond to things. There's always going to be a human element in creator marketing. To what extent, we'll see. We're working on different ways to lock that down to make it shorter and shorter and shorter and shorter. But I don't ever see a world where automation and AI can replace that human component because it's human on human, right? But I think from a data perspective, creativity, selection, what content are they going to make? What is the value proposition we're putting in the content? What's the sell through? I think everything that we do should get better. And it should get more predictable. And that's what we fight for every day is everything. Can we get it better? When we do a brief for a creator, can we utilize AI to make it perfect? If we're choosing a creator, can we pull down 7 different data lines to be able to align them with a brand versus just demographic data? So AI is unlocking these things to be done better, faster. But I don't think necessarily in our specific area, replace it. I think it replaces a lot of stuff around us.
Right. What do you think of Beast Games being on Amazon? A creator who changed everything for everyone, suddenly taking his IP to a completely different platform. What did you make of it?
I thought it was interesting because it was the number one unscripted show in the history of the company. So for me, it just showed the power, right? A lot of people say that YouTube is not powerful. Well, I think it's more powerful than any streaming platform, right?
Yep.
And I think that a creator breaching that matrixed wall and going over and saying, hey, and by the way, I'm taking all these people with me and they're coming back was an excellent stride for the industry in terms of drawing that relation to the power and the potential of the creator space. Yep. And also, you want to credit Amazon for continuing to build creators into their ecosystem proactively because they know that they need to be a part of that ecosystem for the future of their business. And I think these are all really cool indications of large brands taking bigger shots in that space. Walmart's doing live shopping with creators. That's really impeccable stuff. Target has one of the biggest creator programs in North America. So creators becoming the core of where these folks see where they need to be in the future, and they're starting to jump. And that's all part of my whole thesis of that shift happening, right? Yeah. Because 5 years ago, I used to work for Twitch at Amazon. I used to do marketing for Twitch. They didn't know or care about an influencer outside of an affiliate link. Amazon's approach to creator was, we'll give them affiliate links. Now, Amazon has a global approach to creator that sits at the highest levels of their business. So that's a cool example of, like, when you said, what are brands doing? They're trying to figure out how they can align their entire business model with this new way of doing things.
Do you see brands working with AI avatars of creators?
It's a slippery slope because a creator's number one asset is the fact that they are authentic and human. Yeah. Creators become ads, like a Facebook ad. You remove that connectivity. So for me, I always worry about, imagine a world where every consumer isn't sure if an influencer is making the content or they're not. I don't care what anyone says. You ask any psychology professor at any university what that means. That means that the engagement between them and the audience will go down because people won't know. That's my fear. So there's a lazy version. And then there's a way that creators can use AI to be better, like we are. right? They're not trying to become an avatar for the sake of not having to work. They should be utilizing AI to make themselves better, make their content better, understand their audience better, edit things better, right? But the value of creators stems from personality and stems from heart. And we can't lose that part. Now, is there a world where you can have creators for brands that are AI generated? Hell yeah. Are there specific industries where AI influencers could do really well? Think about a news one where it's like, you have your host, and that host you don't have to worry about changing. I see it playing a role, but we can't enable creators to fall into a trap where they think that there's a time saving versus what they need to do to continue to be authentic to their audience.
Right. Wonderful. Joe, where are we going to see Viral Nation next? What's the big thing you're working on?
What is the big thing we're working on? We are working right now on a couple initiatives on the data side. So I'd say our biggest focus for 2025 is we are one of the biggest data holders of social data in North America. Like, we hold extraordinary amounts of social data, and we've been collecting that data for a number of years. And now what we've done is we've organized the majority of that data. And so now what we're working with Google right now, and we're working with our internal teams, and we're now trying to figure out how can we use AI models to enhance all these different parts of the business. And that's what I'm probably most excited about is we're enabling and doing a plan right now to basically look at every single touch point of our entire ecosystem and say, what can be better? What can be faster? What can be stronger? What can be automated? And that, again, remember when I told you earlier, I love the work. That's my stuff. Like, I love getting in the weeds and really unpacking that. Based on what I'm seeing already since we've started in January, like, the magnitude of operational efficiency and benefit for our clients when we're enabled by AI is freaky. So I'm excited to really maximize everything we're doing with AI this year and really take our data we've been collecting for a very long time and put it to work.
Wonderful. Last couple of rituals we make our guests go through. You have to give us a book recommendation, and you have to nominate someone for our show.
Let me see. I'm going to pull up. I can't remember the name of the book, but I just started, and it's new. So that's cool.
Okay, nice.
How to Make a Few Billion Dollars, it's called. It's called How to Make a Few $Billion by Brad Jacobs.
Okay.
He's a billionaire from Connecticut, but he talks about... He's one of those guys who's been through it all, and he documents what's important and what's not. And he goes through team dynamics, and he goes through business strategy in a way that I find extremely compelling. And it's a new book, so it's kind of cool. And then nominated for this show. I'm not sure. Do you have like a genre?
Well, someone you admire, someone you work with, someone you like to talk to when you're, let's say, thinking of ideas to build something.
Yeah, you know what? There's a man who works for us. His name's John Shanti. He's the president of Viral Nation Talent. And he's someone who's built this business with me. But his whole entire brain is dedicated to creators and could bring a really interesting and really thoughtful view on that landscape that I don't think a lot of people in the world would have.
Wonderful. Thank you so much, Joe, for your time today. And thank you for being the pioneer in this industry. You've been leading with love, I would say, with sensitivity. You're taking care of both sides, brands as well as creators. And of course, you're at the cutting edge at Viral Nation. We hope we can host you again when you reach the next milestone at Viral Nation.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
Thank you so much, Joe. And if you like the show, please let us know in the comments below. You can reach out to Joe as well. You can connect with him on LinkedIn and with me also, and find us on YouTube. And yeah, do check out Viral Nation if you're a creator or if you're looking to work with them, if you're a brand manager. Thank you for watching.
Impulse, the influencer marketing podcast, is brought to you by Phyllo. Phyllo is the easiest way to get access to authenticated creator data from hundreds of different platforms. To know more about Phyllo, visit getphyllo.com. That's get, PHYLLO.com. Also, make sure to search for Influencer Marketing Podcast in Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and YouTube Podcasts. And don't forget to click subscribe so you don't miss out on any future episodes. On behalf of the team here at Phyllo, thank you so much for listening.